Good evening. Welcome to APTN National News. I'm Melissa Ridgen. Winnipeg police are awaiting the results of an autopsy after human remains were found during a search at a city landfill. Police began searching the landfill on June 2nd, looking for additional remains of 24-year-old Rebecca Contois. Police deemed that Contois' death was a homicide when her partial remains were discovered in a garbage bin on May 16th. A 35-year-old Winnipeg man is in custody and has been charged with first-degree murder in Contois' death. Police have indicated there is a possibility there may be more victims. Today, police said an autopsy of the remains found will be the only way to confirm the identity of the victim at the landfill. In the past month, 5 Indigenous women in Winnipeg have been murdered or died under questionable circumstances.
All incidents involving missing, murdered Indigenous women and girls and Two-Spirit and gender diverse people, they all, if it happens to one, it impacts all of us. In particular, this particular case, the details that have been released have been very traumatic on the family, of course, but also on other families who have been who have experienced this loss before.
Well, a new report proves what racialized communities in Toronto have been saying for years. When it comes to people of color and police practices, racism exists, and the Toronto Police Service's latest data report proves that. Here's Annette Francis with that story.
On Wednesday, Toronto Police Services released the findings of the report. For the first time, it's a race-based collection of data. At a morning press conference, Toronto Police Chief James Raymer admitted mistakes have been made.
The results have confirmed what for many decades racialized communities, particularly the Black and Indigenous communities, have been telling us, that they are disproportionately over-policed. This data demonstrates the unfortunate realities of those experiences.
The report found that Indigenous people were 1.3 times overrepresented in strip searches. And once booked, they're 20% more likely to be strip searched. It also confirms that Black, Indigenous, and other diverse groups are disproportionately affected by use of force. Raymer said it's hard to come to terms with their own data. He said it speaks of systemic racism within the police.
I am listening. I also acknowledge the impact systemic bias on Indigenous communities in Toronto. We know that their specific experience and the history of policing that is so intertwined with that experience has left our organization less trusted by members of Indigenous communities.
On behalf of the police, Raymer issued an apology.
We have not done enough to ensure that every person in our city receives fair and unbiased policing. And for this, as Chief of Police and on behalf of the service, I am sorry and I apologize unreservedly.
Although the press conference was for media, an activist in the room spoke up. Beverly Bain of No Pride in Policing refused to accept Raymer's apology.
You talk about it being a painful and a hurtful process to your police officers, but this is insulting to Black people. This is insulting to Indigenous people. This is insulting to racialized people. This is insulting to the homeless, to those of us who are queer.
Raymer had this to say when Bain finished.
I realize it's a very difficult and important day. And we are making concerted efforts to move forward in a productive way.
According to Raymer, an online dashboard will keep track of the process in implementing the report's 38 recommendations. Annette Francis, APTN National News, Ottawa.
Well, there are still no charges in a hit and run in Mission, BC that has garnered national attention. The incident happened during a walk to commemorate residential school survivors. The driver turned himself in. Video is circulated on social media, but the man isn't in custody or facing charges. For more on this, we're joined by Constable Harrison Moore of the RCMP in Mission, BC. Constable Moore, thanks for joining us. You know, this hit and run took place 11 days ago. We've covered it extensively here at APTN. Can you tell us where are things at with this investigation?
Yeah, absolutely. So the investigation is still moving full steam ahead. Our serious crime unit has taken the lead on this investigation. They're working in conjunction with our traffic services unit, and the two of them are pushing hard. They've interviewed over 25 witnesses so far who have come forward, and they're also sifting through and trying to piece together a lot of the video footage that has been brought forward as well. There's still certainly more witnesses to interview, and we think there may be more people who have not yet come forward and more video footage that has not been brought forward to us. So we're still definitely looking forward for any further information people have.
I think some of the criticism was that, you know, the person who was in the video had come to the police station. We know who this person is. Critics are saying that charges should have been laid already. Why haven't they been?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a very valid concern from the public, and we want to ensure them that we're pushing forward as fast as we can. This has become certainly a large, complex case by a lot of police investigation standards. Just with the large amount of witnesses who have come forward, it's all different pieces, essentially, of a jigsaw puzzle that we need to try to figure out where they all go. And it's important that we do that to the very highest standard, so that the evidence gathered is upheld in court when it gets to that standpoint. That we don't rush through and try to get a quick arrest or a charge too soon.
Something that had been brought up earlier, people involved at this march said they didn't like the tone of the police news releases that were written in a way kind of gaslighting people who were at that march. One of the releases had said that the driver was just simply impatient. People on the scene say that the driver was malicious, had threatened people. So they take that press release as being a little insulting. What's your reaction to the criticism about the tone of the police releases?
Yeah, absolutely. Understandable, the criticism. The initial information we received when we first attended that day was consistent with the motorist trying to rush past in a dangerous and very reckless manner. We're still very much looking into whether there was any specific intent toward the march, or whether this was an upset motorist who hurt a lot of people physically and mentally, emotionally by doing so. So, we put out the initial information based on the information we had, and we're certainly wanting to update the public as much as we can moving forward, and speaking with you and providing updated releases. We're committed to ensuring the public is always up to date on where the investigation stands and where it's going.
Last question for you. This case has garnered national attention for sure. Lots of outrage there as well. Indigenous people in Mission are upset, as are people who are watching from afar. Are you worried that this damages Mission RCMP's relationship with Indigenous people there?
We work very closely with our Indigenous communities, and we have very good relationships with them. Last week, the Sham First Nation invited members of our senior leadership team to go meet with them about this investigation. They had a lengthy meeting, and both sides provided some information, discussed their concerns. So it's really important to us that we maintain those good relationships, and we have in the past, and we believe that the best way to do this is to ensure that we do a fulsome investigation to the highest standard and provide some answers to those who need it.
Excellent. Well, thanks so much for that. We will wait for this investigation to wrap up. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Do you own a cell phone, drive a car, use light bulbs at home? Then Lindsay Richardson's next story might be for you.
It's part of rare earths. That's what they're looking for.
We use its byproducts in everyday life, but like the name suggests, rare earth minerals are hard to find. With Canada's first ever rare earth mine nearly up and running in the north, big industry players are eyeing Quebec and may move in on the unceded ancestral settlement of the Algonquin Nation.
In terms of dollars, yes, underground definitely a lot more rich, but when you look at it from a Indigenous lens, and you can't beat what's on top.
I'm Lindsay Richardson, and I'll have that story coming up on APTN National News.
It's been a mystery for almost 30 years. What happened to Kevin Charles and his adoptive grandmother, Mary Goodfellow? The pair haven't been seen since April 3rd, 1993 in Chittick, Saskatchewan. Now searchers who never forgot about their disappearance are looking at a rural area not far from where they went missing. APTN's Leanne Sanders has this exclusive report.
What's that? Just pulled this wood out of the ground here. There's a platform. Somebody made a platform.
It's overgrown with grass, but these searchers believe they found evidence of an old spring-fed well lined with wood, which they hope may hold the answer to where 16-year-old Kevin Charles and 67-year-old Mary Goodfellow ended up. They were last seen in Chittick Lake on April 3rd, 1993. RCMP reported there was a loud argument that night at Goodfellow's home, and two people had confronted Charles about stealing. The boy ran to nearby homes for help, but no one did. Neither he or his 67-year-old adoptive grandmother were seen again, and the case went cold.
Yeah, that's old wood. Probably have to get some professionals like
Searcher Ernest Dumaze says it bothered him.
You know, you hear stories about stuff getting, swept under the rug, and there's a lot of people missing.
13 years later, in 2006, acting on a tip, RCMP showed up to ask Roger Barassa and his father-in-law where the well was.
They asked him about this well site, and he said, yeah, but it hasn't been used for 20 years. So we showed him the site, and those two RCMP officers taped it off. And they told him that we'll be back within 2 weeks. But the following week, the two RCMP officers in Spiritwood got shot. And nothing's been done about it since. And one of those RCMP officers that taped it off was one of the officers that was involved in shooting in Spiritwood.
It was a tragedy that caught the nation's attention. RCMP Constable Mark Bordage was one of two officers killed in a 2006 shootout. After that shooting, their files were sent to the RCMP's Historical Crimes Department in Regina. APTN asked the RCMP about those files, and in an emailed statement, RCMP said they are reviewing them and continue to investigate the case. This includes reviewing the information collected during the 29 years since their disappearance, speaking with witnesses, and investigating new pieces of information as they're learned. Investigators recently received some new information they are currently following up on. That new information came from Ernie Dumaze, who heard the tale of the RCMP visiting the well site from his co-worker Roger Barassa years before and was haunted by it. Turns out Dumaze's mother was a first cousin of Mary Goodfellow's.
I'd see that picture on Child Find, so I went there. I phoned the number, and nothing really happened. Nobody got back to me. And then they said, maybe phone the RCMP in Regina. So I phoned there, and nothing really happened there too. Like, it seemed like everywhere I was phoning, nothing was going on, and like, to me, it's not the first time things like this happen where they know it's the First Nations person and it's nothing really happened.
Somebody made a platform. There's that tape right there on that tree.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
That's police tape. Good job.
Dumaze and other searchers also located a piece of faded yellow police tape near the well, giving some weight to Barassa's story. The searchers hope RCMP will investigate the site soon. Elder Howard Halkett is Kevin Charles' cousin. He laid down tobacco at the well and said a prayer. He says the family has never forgotten.
There's always the hope that we could find him alive and bring him home, right, and reunite with family. But if he's in the spirit world, we'd like to bring him home also and have a proper burial for him, right? And not only him, but for the old lady also.
The RCMP has not announced a date when it will travel to the site to investigate, but they told APTN they hope our story will generate new leads in the case.
Now we need somebody to come in and dig it out.
Leanne Sanders, APTN National News, Saskatoon.
Quite the incredible story there. A Cree mother in Hay River, Northwest Territories is getting ready to travel across the country to attend the inquest into her daughter's death. Delilah Blair, a 30-year-old mother of 4, died in a Windsor jail in May 2017. Our reporter Charlotte Moore-Jacobs has more on that.
I could have accepted an accident or things that happened, but where she was, I would not have expected this to happen.
The family of Delilah Blair hope the long-awaited inquest into the death of their loved one will provide answers as to what happened in a Windsor jail cell on the night of May 22, 2017. Blair, a 30-year-old Cree mother of 4, was in the custody of the Southwest Detention Center when she was found unresponsive. Corrections staff performed CPR until she was taken to the hospital, where she was pronounced dead.
A lot of mothers who have lost a child, that day doesn't go away from you. And especially since I didn't have answers for that day, and I had went a long way to travel to pick up my baby. I was very pleased that they did give me the chance to spend time with her, to hold her, to dress her, to prepare her makeup.
The inquest examining the circumstances around Blair's passing, which was originally set for April 2020, has seen multiple delays. Blair's mother, Selena McIntyre of Hay River, Northwest Territories, was advised by her lawyer not to speak to APTN regarding specifics until the inquest concludes. But she did say she's pored over all the documentation.
I know that she was trying to reach me, and through transcripts that she was trying to reach home. She wanted to talk to me. She wanted to tell me something. But we weren't able to connect. That's the reason. That's what hurts me a lot, is we were a big support line for her. We always knew where she was. She always gave in phone checks, webcam with the kids.
A support page has been set up, fundraising to cover transportation and accommodation for McIntyre to be able to attend the inquest.
One thing that keeps me awake is if I can't find answers for her, that this doesn't happen to another girl, especially with the suicide rates that were in that facility. There was several incidents from the old one before Delilah was moved to the new one. My goal is, if another family does not have to go through something like this and go with unanswered questions.
The inquest begins Monday, June 20th, and is expected to last 9 days. Charlotte Moore-Jacobs, APTN National News, Yellowknife.
The government of Manitoba will be spending $2.5 million on the search for unmarked graves at 18 former federal and church-run residential schools here in Manitoba. Premier Heather Stephenson made the announcement at the former Portage La Prairie Indian Residential School 100 kilometers west of Winnipeg. $2 million will be spent evenly among 3 chiefs organizations here in Manitoba. The remaining $500,000 goes to the Manitoba Métis Federation and the Inuit Association of Manitoba. $60,000 goes to the Sioux Valley Dakota Nation near Brandon. Premier Stephenson says the money is for identification, commemoration, and the protection of burial sites.
So this first thing, every child matters, and it is our duty to help First Nations, Inuit, and Métis reclaim the dignity of these children as human beings whose ties with their loving families and communities were tragically severed because of the residential school system.
Environmental advocates and lawyers held a virtual press conference calling on British Columbians to sue oil companies over the impacts of climate change. They say 90 companies are responsible for the majority of fossil fuel pollution. The advocates want local governments to file a class action lawsuit against major oil companies to recover climate change costs. They say recent BC wildfires and heat waves are direct impacts from fossil fuel company emissions. Speaking at the event, Judy Wilson, an executive at the Union of BC Indian Chiefs, says it's communities that are paying the price of climate change.
Our communities on the ground are experiencing the impacts of climate change, and we're the only ones paying the price. Over 600 people died in the province. There was a report, I think it was like 619 that died last year because of the heat dome, and they did not have basic utilities in their homes to keep them safe during the heat wave.
We need to take another break, but still ahead, and Inuk is honored with a postage stamp. Stay with us. Welcome back. It's time now for our photo of the day. Is that a monster canine or a water-walking dog? It's actually Julie Gibson's dog standing on a rock waiting for a stick to be thrown his way. Julie and her pup were along the shore on Lake Ontario. If you have a great photo, email it to share@aptn.ca and you have a chance to be our next photo of the day. Let's take a look now at tomorrow's weather forecast. Starting on the East Coast, we've got sunshine and 20 in St. John's, 25 and sunny in Halifax. Kuujjuaq, 25 with showers. Nain, you got rain and 17. Gaspé, you're the only sunny spot, 27 degrees, 22 and showers for Quebec City. Ottawa, 30 and showers expected there. Sarnia, 29 and showers. Cloud continues to the north, 25 for Kapuskasing and Timmins and Sudbury. Puckatawagan, mix of sun and cloud, 18 degrees. Cloud and some showers for Churchill at 8. 23 and sunny for Winnipeg, 22 and sunshine for Dauphin. 22 and sunny for Saskatoon and Estevan, 25 and sunshine for Regina. 15 and showers for Buffalo Narrows, mix of sun and cloud, 17 for Stony Rapids. Showers and 24 for Peace River, 20 and sunny for Fort McMurray. 21 and cloud for Edmonton, 18 sunshine for Lethbridge. Kamloops, showers and 20 degrees, same with you in Penticton. 19 sunny for Dease Lake, 18 and cloud for Prince George. Old Crow, sunshine and 23 degrees, 21 and sunny for Whitehorse. Wauti, 15 and showers, 15 and sunny for Yellowknife. Paulatuck, 11 and sunny skies, Tuktoyaktuk, 13 and sunshine. Nuyot, mix of sun and cloud and 6 degrees, Arviat, showers and 6. Kenite, 7 and sunny, same with you in Iqaluit. Josie Kusagok still looms large over Nunavut history, and now 11 years after his death, he's receiving a huge national honor, his own postage stamp. Kusagok was one of the first members of the land claims movement in the 1970s that would eventually result in Nunavut's birth. He helped to select the name and the flag of Nunavut, and he was president of both major Inuit organizations. And as part of Canada Post's series of stamps celebrating Indigenous leaders, you can now see him on this stamp, which was unveiled in Rankin Inlet, Nunavut yesterday. Well, that is a wrap on your Wednesday news. We look forward to who else is on stamps here, hey? Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Melissa Ridgen. Have a great night. We'll see you back here tomorrow.